shoot, I turned off the microphone. So, hey, guys, this is all made a mistake. Didn't have the mic on, but we'll start over. So, hey, guys, it's Ian from Modern Weapon Systems. You know, I've been doing these, talking to you guys, making little videos here and there, and this is my new podcast. So I'm going to start every morning, try to get around like 6 o'clock to try it and see how it works, go from there. And if things work out and I can do this more and people want to listen and it seems like it's working, then we'll go ahead and run it every week a couple times, maybe even in the evening. But I'm going to start at 6 and see how that goes. And if that doesn't work out, then we'll go somewhere else. But how you guys doing this morning? Everybody doing good? And you can comment and talk to me on here while I'm live. So basically, I keep getting stopped at the grocery store and guys come up to me and they say, "Hey, and you're that guy from the gun store and you're always online and you always talk to us about everything, and really appreciate you voicing your opinion and doing your thing." And I say, "Yeah, no problem, whatever, we just try to speak my mind and make sure you guys are aware of what's going on around you." But the point of everything is to, educate people. People don't really know what's going on anymore, and they don't know the details because they don't spend a lot of time reading. Sometimes they go on Facebook and they do certain things, and they get the word around, and stuff like that. But, over time, you see a lot of people who just don't really know what's up and what's going on. And so trying to wake people up and give some people some information and stuff like that, stuff I like to do. So, this is where we are. So about a year now, I've been trying to do something like this or get around to doing this. And, I've had some good luck with it. Getting started, a lot of help from a good friend of mine, Jamie Allman. And he's given me some of the background on how to get things working, and I appreciate that. And it's really been a nice help. So last week I came on here and I had popped it open and we were testing it out just to see if it would work. And sure enough, we got a ton of people on here, and it was really awesome, to see people shoot up here and, say hey and good morning and things like that. And it was really kind of cool. So if everything's working right this morning, let me know that. Otherwise, let's get on to the show. So today I was wanting to talk, a lot of people have been asking me about SEPA and they don't understand what exactly is going on and what that means for them. And, you get a couple guys here and there that come in and they just talk about, different things and they ask a lot of questions, and I should follow my log over here because I already wrote down what I'm going to talk about. So let's talk about the first thing. The opener of the show is a friend of mine. It's the band's Divine Sorrow. They're a great band, and I've just really been fortunate to meet Brian. And so that music that we played at the start of the show, which he gave me permission to use, which is really cool, and the part, "Can you hear me?" which I really like because I think that's something that needs to be said, is from his 7 Deadly Sins album. So if you guys haven't heard Divine Sorrow, it's a great local band, a bunch of older guys about my age, and they really rock. They sound like kind of a mix of Tool and other artists, and so it's you can go see them a lot, like local and things like that. So I decided to use some of their music because it's local. I like to keep things local. I like to support my friends, and it's just something I wanted to add. So that's where the music comes from. And getting back to the SEPA thing, because when I opened, I said a bunch of stuff and I had my microphone muted like an idiot because I'm just learning how to use this whole thing. We're trying to start a podcast here to give you guys some information and to, get out to my audience and my people that I deal with on a daily basis. And a lot of people have been asking me about the SEPA stuff, and they want to know what exactly the Second Amendment Protection Act does here in Missouri. And I can tell you that there's some interesting side to that, because a lot of guys want to come in and they say, "Hey, well, so this means I can just build suppressors at home and there's no consequence." And I don't really think that's a smart idea. So we'll get into why shortly. I'm going to add a guest here soon. But for right now, what this does is it essentially makes it to where the state can nullify federal gun law through not cooperating with the feds. So if the feds come in, they're not supposed to assist if they're looking into a gun issue, as long as it's not something that's a crime. Of course, if you commit a crime with a gun, I think the feds have an automatic right to kick in and take over. And also, I believe that the sheriff's department, will also be backing that. And maybe later this week, I can get the sheriff on the phone and we can discuss the stipulations and his concerns from his side, so we can kind of get some ideas from everybody which way this actually pans out. So, but it has been passed in the House and Senate. It's currently waiting Governor Parsons' signature, which I believe is going to be done, they say. So we're just a matter of time, probably till this all gets done, and then it's gonna be passed. I don't have any doubt that Parsons isn't gonna sign it. He's wanting to get reelected. He knows it's a huge issue to the people out there, and I believe that this year, especially with gun control laws being slung right and left in Washington, that everybody's gonna pretty much expect it to be done. So here we are. 5/17, I think it is today. Yeah, 5/17. It was passed the other day. I'd say we got probably a week, and we're going to hear big news about it. He's going to make big campaign noise about it. The typical political game in Washington, even on the state level, is that you're going to go out there and, try to get your support back for election. Keep in mind we had almost a full year of complete nonsense Nazi lockdowns. And it's pretty much drove people past the point of no return. And they're probably going to go to the polls next time and vote out every single damn person that was in control because, well, we're not stupid. We're creatures of habit. And if you restrict our rights, then we clearly like to destroy you and get you out of our way. So that's our right as citizens, is to vote. So we got to make sure we do that. With the SAPA thing, the big thing is that essentially on a state level, let's just say that you want to make guns at your house and you want to serialize them or don't serialize them. Essentially, this would keep the government of federal side out of your business, okay? But by doing so, it essentially keeps the local law enforcement from being able to do anything in contacting the federal government. And that's where I think the SAPA bill is strong. So it can keep the federal government from investigating or being a part of the investigation in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's really the premise, is to kind of shut down the fact of whether or not your guns or your guns aren't legal doesn't really fall under the state. The state's essentially saying that we don't have much say-so in what guns you own because we protect the right to own any gun, and that the federal laws are over and exceeding and overbearing what people are expecting. And so therefore, you've got this push and pull. A state can essentially nullify the federal law by forcing them not to be able to circumvent. So in other words, you kind of look at their power to go in and say, we're not going to give you information, we're not going to cooperate with you. Well, a federal government, when they come in to do an investigation, generally needs connections and generally needs people coming in order to pick up the pieces, if that makes sense. And they don't. So if they can't do that, then they have no ability to do so. And so it really strangles the government's ability to do anything like that whatsoever. Excuse me for 1 second, I got a cough. Okay, so I have to get used to this because I'm not used to being able to cough on the air, and obviously if I did that, it would blow your eardrums out, so I'm glad I did that. So their ability to do this thing is really on behalf of the state a cooperation. And if the state doesn't cooperate, then they really don't have any ability, if that makes sense. And so that really kills their ability to do so. And so that's where the SAPA Act really comes in, and it really kind of beats down the ability for the federal government to do anything. Okay. And if they can't do anything, generally they don't get involved because it's just not worth their time, because there's no cooperation on the local levels. And that's what SAPA does. So there's some technicalities here where some guys are like, well, I can just build a suppressor now and nobody's going to do anything about it. Well, that's theoretically logical in the state that, yes, you can. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and call up one of my guests today, and we're going to give a little talk about it. So this is going to be a pretty regular guest on the show. And, so that you guys don't know who everybody is, this guy's got special name, and some of the other guys have special names. And so we're going to call him up real quick here, guys. So let me get him on the phone. And while I'm doing that, we will catch up on that in just a second. So I'm going to connect him to the board here, and we're going to get him in to this call. And he goes by Secret Agent, man. So it's kind of appropriate. So we will get him on the phone here. And when we do, we'll put him in.
Hello, Ian.
Hey, Secret Agent, man. How you doing today?
Oh, not too bad.
That's great. So we're talking
How
about...
you be?
We're good. We're good. I'm like super tired and was up till like 1 a.m, but we're kicking, and I'm trying to make this happen and get this thing rolling. So you're my first guest. So hopefully you have a good time on my show today, and we can talk about some stuff. So today I wanted to talk about SAPA with you, which I know we were talking about the other day, and we were discussing like some variations of the law and different laws that are very similar. So, when we talked, we were talking about how like this, that somebody could just build this, build a suppressor and nobody really cared. But you and I both discussed that, and it kind of works both ways, so go ahead. Tell me about what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I've noticed that, we have that Second Amendment sanctuary state bill that I think bounced back to the House and for a vote, and I'm not too sure what the tweaks were on it, but it looks like it's going to be law. But it's one of these things you don't, even if it is a Second Amendment, we do become a Second Amendment sanctuary state, that doesn't mean go out and construct a suppressor or buy a suppressor and don't go through the NFA tax stamp. Because some folks in Kansas tried it, and it didn't work out too well for them. Cost them some money. They didn't do jail time. Kansas, back in 2013, became a Second Amendment sanctuary state, and manufacturer over there made some suppressors and sold one to a guy, and he evidently went out and made a video on it. And the ATF
that seems to be the problem. So his dumb ass went out and made a big video about how he was all protected by the Second Amendment Protection Act there, and the federal government had no right to intervene. And then, magically, here we go. Here comes the feds. Because somebody saw it over in a different state and ratted him out like a little baby. Got the guy from the ATF involved that came in and that killed his dogs, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I know they did right. Their attorneys told them it was okay, but then when they went to the Attorney General of the state of Kansas, they said, well, it's one of these deals that we have to abide by federal law, and which, is the NFA. It supersedes any state law, which is a little troubling. All it does seems to do is give the sheriff's department's authority to arrest federal, the ATF, if they violate the Second Amendment sanctuary. And that's so murky based on what happened in Kansas. Now, that was 13 years ago. More states have jumped on the bandwagon now. I believe there's 7 counties in Missouri now that are 2A sanctuary counties, and it's increasing. So, I wouldn't look forward to St. Louis County or city being one, but
yeah, I would think that if you had a
Columbia
suppressor in the county, you'd be going to jail by their hand alone, and then, well, unless our favorite officer was involved. He's about the only constitutional officer I know out there.
Exactly. And a lot of it is just don't put it out there. If that guy wouldn't have made the video, he probably wouldn't have attracted the attention.
Yeah, I really think that's the case.
I'm not advocating anybody violate the law by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that that's the case. I think that's what happened is once you put it out there and somebody contacted the ATF, they kind of automatically gain jurisdiction to come in because you've openly admitted you're defacing their law. You've openly admitted that you're not going to follow it. You're openly admitting that you did something illegal. They have all the evidence they need at that point to prosecute you directly and skip over any kind of local authority. And so they just came in probably and swooped these guys up. And yeah, the thing that's really funny, we were talking about that yesterday, the most amazing part of the whole thing is the fact that after where they do a full Supreme Court appeal all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, and of course, lots of states actually backed them, which was very surprising. And they went in and said that the federal government has no right to regulate suppressors and that they felt that this was complete overreach by the federal government. And while we all like Trump a lot, he decided to step in and tell the courts to leave it in place. And I think there's two sides to that. A lot of people really, really hate Trump, and they say, oh, Trump isn't about the Second Amendment, And this isn't any kind of underwater 3D diving or anything like that, but this is common sense. He knew at the time that they would lose if this went in front of the court, so I believe that he did what he did in order so they wouldn't rule. It leaves it open then for a later ruling to correct the issue. If you somehow have a ruling get to the Supreme Court and it actually gets in front of the court accepts it, and it gets proven to be unconstitutional according to them, which we all know the founding fathers said that, the Constitution lies in our hands to protect. So if the courts do rule something that you feel is unconstitutional, then obviously you have the right as a citizen of the United States to ignore the law if you feel that it's an unconstitutional overreach. Of course, nowadays we're such a tyranny full of commies that it doesn't matter whether or not you think it's not or not. They'll just destroy you and take everything from you and completely hose you and make you a felon. In this situation, Bob,
absolutely.
In this situation, Secret Agent Man, did you find out whether or not they actually? I know you said that they didn't get any jail time; they both got probation. But did you find out whether or not they actually got felonies?
In all the verbiage that I read, they were charged and convicted of a felony. Now, I don't know if that was overturned after that. There was no mention of it, but they didn't really run roughshod over him, which kind of surprises me. Probably they didn't want to pull the tail of the dog. The manufacturer of the suppressor got 1 year probation and $100 fine. The guy that actually made the video got 2 years probation and an $800 fine.
Wow, I got you. That's pretty crazy. So, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say they didn't throw the book at him, which really surprises me because normally, when the government steps in, they just put the screws to you until you eventually say, "Stop! I'm guilty of everything you're accusing me of. Just take the pain away."
Oh yeah, I get it. I mean, they just totally destroy you if they can. They don't care whether or not they, they just completely take your life away over it. They'll do anything they can. You've seen that when with the whole witch hunt through the Russia collusion nightmare. Same idea. They just destroyed everybody until there wasn't anything left. Sadly,
lose your house, lose every penny you own, destroy your marriage, and then if you still don't knuckle under, come after your son
or your daughter. And if you're lucky, they'll take your dog out too.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. But one thing we were talking about the other day was it seems to be really a smorgasbord of what they pick and choose to prosecute, because You know, you have the 2A sanctuary states, but you know, on the same token, you also have the states where cannabis is legal.
Exactly.
And turn a blind eye to that, you just can't bank, which creates an underground economy of a cash, you know, society. But it's really interesting because that is in direct contradiction to federal law. Now, I'm not going to get off into the weeds, no pun intended, about, you know, what we all think about legalization of cannabis, but I'm just using that as an example. You know, that's been going on in numerous states, in Oregon, Washington State, California, Nevada, and you know, to my knowledge, nobody's been prosecuted, or nobody's even received a knock on the door under federal law.
Yeah, and I
And
mean,
it's on
these
the
guys
books.
have made billions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars, which is surprising. You would think as a federal government, they'd be, you know, you're essentially becoming a cartel within the United States, and they seem to have no interest in prosecuting because um, you're essentially shielded by the state to not intervene. They probably need a lot more agents in order to break down something like that. It's not going to be so much a federal situation like they could with the suppressor, where they just send in some agents to arrest the son of a bitch, put him in jail, and go about their business. But I think in the big window picture, and I've got a couple friends that, you know, I've talked to, or customers, I should say, that, you know, worked for or did IT work for one of these Colorado companies. I talked to him about a year or two ago, and you know, he says he's making hand over fist. He's not doing anything illegal. Obviously, he's just running their business through, you know, like an online connection to Colorado. Will eventually go out there sometimes and work for him. But I told him, I was like, man, you know, can you imagine eventually? Because he was telling me how the guy just went through a divorce, and after the divorce, he literally, his wife wiped him out of, like, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, and he was basically broke as a joke. And within like 60 days, he was right back where he was. And I was like, holy cow. And he's like, dude, the amount of money, it's insane. And I was just
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
I was like, you know, here's the problem with that. Put this into theory, you know, it's still federally restricted. And I get that some people like to smoke weed. I don't care for it. It doesn't do anything for me. I did it when I was younger. I don't do any drugs at all anymore. Haven't ever done drugs since I was probably, shoot, I think 18 was last time I did anything, and that was weed. And, you know, I'm a big non-drug person. I don't like drugs. I like actually helping people that maybe have been on drugs or gotten on drugs, and you know, got a couple friends that have been through it, and they've really turned their life around, and they're amazing people today. So anyone can do it. Getting back to the story, the big thing is that, man, you know, you can eventually just get yourself in this situation where you have all this power and all this money, and you're you know, you think you're shielded by the state, and then all of a sudden the state just changes their mind. And like you said, here they come. And we're not talking, you know, a suppressor and you might get probation. If the feds decide they want to prosecute some of these big, powerful people or these corporations and anybody who's involved in that corporation, I mean, even if you're an IT guy, theoretically, you're part of the cartel, right? I would think, by the federal government's eyes. So you're just as liable. And that's what's really scary is the states keep putting up this faux, you know, it's legal, it's okay. And it's been going on in some of these liberal states for a long time, and nobody seems to care. But there may become a time where they want their money. Does that make sense? They want to know that they're not getting hosed out of federal income tax off of you. And so they'll send the IRS, and eventually they'll look at investigating you. They might break your company down. And then eventually somebody's going to be a fall guy. And that's probably about the time when all of these areas of question will start to show their real colors. And I think you will see that sometime in the future, I would think, unless they just completely legalize it. And it's going to be a huge shit show.
I think there is a bill on the House floor to legalize it. Not only decriminalize, but legalize it. I think that floated up a couple of weeks ago. But
well, I don't doubt it. I mean, let's just be honest. What their plan is to do, and I'm not saying that everybody who does this is dumb, but let's just put it this way, it doesn't make you exactly a smarter person. I think it does slow down your brain reaction time and your intelligence to somewhat. Some people can deal with it, and other people it completely destroys them. And I've seen it. So
Oh yeah.
I think the point of being an American is about exceptionalism, and I think that we allowing our people to go that way just turns our country the other direction. It really slows down the growth of our country, slows down the maybe the consumption. It doesn't, because people go to Taco Bell and they eat a lot. But as far as success, being successful, I think that's where we're going to see a big, huge issue over the next 10 or 15 years. We're just going to see our country kind of fall into a black hole over time.
Well, it's, looking at the event horizon right now, but I think a lot of it is there's so much tax money out there. Look at the Volstead Act, and when they repealed it, and they started taxing liquor. I mean, it's the same deal. There's all this money out there that they got to get their hands on, because, the government, everybody has to remember, the government produces nothing. It is a cost center. A lot of salaries, serve one term, you get a lavish retirement, free medical care forever. I mean, why wouldn't you want to run for a one-term congressman or senator, whatever? But, because you get all the perks. And, like I say, the government does not make money. They just need money. They suck it up out of individuals and suck it up out of businesses.
Well, yeah, I mean, they basically are stealing money from everybody every day. I mean, look at what just happened here, where we just passed an additional gas tax to make up for all the COVID nonsense that they allowed to go on. And then they want to sit there and say, well, we're representing you by passing the Second Amendment Protection Act. And I'm sitting there going, what did you do for the last year while you destroyed our economies and destroyed our businesses? Nothing. You allowed these people to pay for play and destroy our lives over some disease that isn't what you guys claim it is, and you made it a huge, big deal.
Well, what was that? It's one of the things I've said for years. Our government is a solution in search of a problem in their own minds.
No, I totally agree. So there's some news on this Maricopa County thing. In case you guys aren't following this, if you go to Gateway Pundit, that's where I get a lot of my news. It's a great source. It's unbiased. It's pretty right wing. It gives real news all day. It's a great source here, and it's also based in St. Louis. Jim Hoft owns it. Seems to be a good dude. I've never met him. Hopefully, I'll meet him. So in Maricopa County, they have done an audit, like a forensic audit, the way that the guy who built the QRC code recommended, by them actually scanning the ballots, inspecting the ballots, making sure that there's fold lines, making sure that they're not printed, making sure the paper's the correct thickness, all these different steps to make sure that things weren't cheated in this county. It's the largest county in Arizona, and they talk about how the election wasn't stolen and all this, and so they've done nothing but constantly reject, refuse, manipulate, sue, everything they could do to stop an investigation here in this Maricopa County. And the funny thing that popped up this weekend, I don't know if you read about it, secret agent man, but it was that they found all of the machines had all of the data from the election deleted off of the hard drive, and right before they turned them over to the auditors for the audit. And that's like massive criminal stuff there, because the judge had ordered this under subpoena that all this stuff happened. So it's kind of mesmerizing to watch this unfold, and I've been watching it for about a week and a half now, and it's really disturbing, because they did recover the files apparently, and they have a lot of forensic evidence there. There's actually IPs that log in, there's actually hands-on, they know who signed in, they know who would have made passwords. Anybody who's a big computer guy, there's a lot of background data there. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, nothing disappears.
That's the
I
thing.
mean,
It's
you can look
astounding.
into the routing tables, and I mean, everything's stamped.
Yeah, so they did that, and then they said apparently there's like thousands and thousands of ballots that are not accounted for and are missing, according to like the box information for the chain of custody. So it keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and they don't have passwords for the machines, and essentially the county did not actually run the election. They turned it over to the company, a privatized company, to actually handle the election and the counting of the ballots, which is unconstitutional in their state. So it's like this is a major train wreck, and you know that's right, guys. I just made a train wreck. It's a major train wreck, and I think that the Trump train might be returning, or there's going to be a hell of a lawsuit, and the Supreme Court's not going to really be able to ignore these things. And I think all these other states are going to slowly flip, but we'll talk more about that maybe later this week of some ideas that I have on what's going on behind the scenes and what their plans are. There's also a New Hampshire audit that got done, and they found that each Republican candidate lost 300 ballots right off the start. And then when they did the totals of the machine between the three companies that did the audit, every one of them was different by 30, 40, 50 votes across the board on each audit time, which means that these machines are completely inaccurate. They're unreliable. And it just continues to show the proof that, you know, I mean, when you're talking a race, 6 votes can make a difference in Jefferson County. We've seen it multiple times. So to have a discrepancy of 50, 60 votes every time somebody's scanning ballots between every candidate, that's a pretty huge discrepancy, wouldn't you say, Secret Agent Man?
Oh, yeah. Well, and I don't know if you caught it yet, but, you know, every vote does count, but I don't know if you caught it yet that somebody watergated DePerno's office up in Michigan. He's the voter fraud attorney in Michigan, and his office got broken into, you know, over the weekend, I guess.
So they went in and tried to grab his documents or shuffle his paperwork so he wouldn't have it or whatever, so they could shut him down.
Or bug it, you know, watergate it. Who knows?
Man, this
I mean, but it's interesting. It's very deep. You know, Carolina is starting to bubble up too. I mean, it's to the point now where they can't ignore it. You know, it's just getting so blatant.
Well, they are ignoring it still. The news hasn't reported on it all weekend.
Well, they never will. I mean, you have to go to alternative news. You know, John B. Wells, Gateway Pundit, William Briggs. You know, Briggs had a really good article on the COVID thing over the weekend, which, you know, the non-vax, the people that make the choice to not get vaccinated, instead of the people that are vaxxed being identified, they want to publicly shame the people that don't get vaxxed, you know, and exclude them from events and from different things. You know, it's really interesting the amount of intrusion that we're getting into our lives.
It is, and it's kind of really scary, honestly. I'm kind of I'm every day I kind of look at it more and more. My favorite movie, Idiocracy. I don't know if you've ever seen it. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. It's a really great movie. And you know, you watched it 20 years ago and you look at it today and you're like, oh my God, what the heck? You know, how is this even happening? Half of the stuff is already underway and we aren't even, you know, we're not even there. So, I mean, it's like, wow, you know. Well, I mean, I really appreciate you being on today. Everybody, that's Secret Agent Man. He'll be on again with us soon. Thanks again for coming on and talking. I'm going to close the show out today. Our next show, I'm going to try a different time. So tomorrow, I'm going to do it around 8 o'clock in the evening, and I'm just going to see how that works. And then we'll try a different time in the morning, and we'll kind of move it around, and I'll tell everybody when, and I'll put up a time frame on the Facebook page. We're going to put this up onto YouTube and also onto Rumble today. But I think that I'm going to bounce it around. I want to see what's going to be a really good time for people. I know that a lot of people watch Jamie Ullman in the morning, so it might not be a great time to do it in the morning. Maybe more in the evening when you're sitting there bored at dinner. Maybe slightly after 6 o'clock, somewhere around 7, something like that. We can punch it in, and we can see what we're gonna do. But I think that it's gonna pan out to be an interesting thing to see how many people comment today, how many people liked it. Give me your information, what you think. And I mean, give me some comments. Let me know how everything sounded. If you enjoyed the show, if there's something that you guys want me to talk about, you can always tell me. As far as the store goes, I mean, we've got a lot of inventory right now. We've had a lot of companies get to us a lot of inventory. On Saturday, we did no limits on ammo all day, and I'll probably run that a couple more days into this week, because we do have a surplus of a couple of things right now, and we'll try to obviously get you guys as much ammo as you need. As far as guns go, I mean, we've got a fully loaded wall of shotguns and rifles and subguns and cool things. And then as far as handguns go, we've got quite a bit, and we did get quite a big shipment right on Friday that we haven't really gotten out everything yet. So if you're looking for something special, looking for something for your wife, looking for something for your kids, come on in, check it out. We've always got inventory of Modern Weapon Systems. We're located right next to Chuck's Boots in the Fenton area. And of course, we appreciate all the support from the community. Our growth here in this area has been really big over the last year, and we couldn't have done it without you guys. We have a lot of people who support us, and we appreciate every bit of that business. If I get on tomorrow, I think I'm going to bring on another guest, and we're going to talk a little bit about inflation. I think that's something that needs to be talked about, and a lot of people are actually seeing that today, and it's becoming a huge issue. And even in the gun market, inflation is becoming a huge issue. If you look around, like, the prices of this and that have gone up. The price of ammo is through the roof. People are starting to kind of panic a little bit that this isn't going to return. And I think some of that's true. I really do believe that we're never gonna see the days of cheap 9mm again for probably a couple of years. Maybe if we get a president in there that does not just hoard up ammo and take it from the people and put it into a big warehouse somewhere, we may very well see ammo being relatively high. Maybe not where it's at today. But I think it will eventually come down some, but I don't think it's going to return to that very low cost that it was prior. But I hope you guys enjoyed this show today, and I really appreciate you guys coming here and listening, and I really appreciate the support and the reach out, and I get a lot of comments, to keep going and keep giving you guys information. Have a little announcement to make here in the next couple of days. Hopefully it'll make some of you guys interested. We're going to exit out with some Divine Sorrow today. It's called Farewell from their Seven Deadly album. And thanks again for letting me use the music, guys. Have a good day.